success of our programs. So we will really appreciate your time and your thoughts on today's session. And now we are proud to present Robin Hatcher. Robin is a communication expert and author, knows successful communication is the lifeblood of any thriving organization. Robin transforms ineffectual communication skills into potent business goals. Her 15-plus years in the entertainment field as a professional actress and film and TV writer, plus her experience as a certified neuro-linguistic programming practitioner, give her a powerful combination of creative tools and scientific research. Welcome.
Thank you. And just a few more bars of my favorite song, Express Yourself. With nobody else, because that's what we're here for, right? It's late. Express yourself. All right. And one of my favorite lines in this song is, it's not what you look like when you're doing what you're doing. It's what you're doing when you're doing what you look like you're doing. And that's about what I am here to talk to you today about. Now, we all have vocal cords. We all have mouths. And it seems like then communication should be easy, right? No. No, that doesn't work out that way. So, communication to me is like mixing up chemicals. Sometimes it's fruitless. You know, you're sitting in the lab and you mix all this stuff up and nothing happens. Sometimes it leads to exciting discoveries like penicillin or the polio vaccine. Sometimes it just blows up. And what we want to do is lessen those blow-ups and invite exciting discoveries. So what frustrates you most about communication? What's some of the frustrating things that you find in communication? Yeah.
When the receiver does not clearly understand what I try to relay.
When the receiver does not clearly understand what I try to convey. Yes, we are going to deal with that. Yes, what else? What else frustrates you about communication? Yeah.
Let's say the meeting after the meeting.
The meeting after the meeting. Say more about that.
So that fear of communicating at the appropriate time and the appropriate message to resolve it, but then there's all the chatter afterwards.
Oh, okay, so you do that and then the chatter afterwards undermines?
It undermines.
And the chatter is with other people.
And sometimes it's the same people
Same
who
people.
have the courage to communicate in that setting.
Interesting. I'll get back to that. Somebody else had their hand up. Yes?
Interruptions while you're speaking.
Interruptions while you're speaking. Yeah, are we talking a little bit of mansplaining there? You know, like somebody says something, it's like, oh, no. This is how it's really supposed to be. Yes, go ahead.
Trying to understand what the individual is trying to communicate to me.
Yeah, okay, so you two are talking to each other, right? Okay, it's like, you don't understand what he's saying. It's like, yeah, exactly. What else? Yes? People not listening. And how do you know they're not listening?
They're not looking at you, they're doing other things.
Oh, they're rolling their eyes, they're not looking at you. Anybody can relate to that? Anybody do that? Yes.
Having a conversation with an important person and really forgetting what the main point was and needing to talk to them the next day.
Okay, so you've had this conversation, they
Yeah.
said something important and you totally forgot about it.
Yeah, I sort of
Okay.
didn't really understand it.
You didn't
but you had to
understand
talk
it,
to them the
and you have
next
to
day.
talk to them, and so you didn't understand it, and you didn't ask questions either, right?
Probably not.
Right, because why don't we ask questions? Because we're afraid we're going to look stupid, right? It's like, and so it's nothing wrong with asking questions if they're intelligent and wise questions. Because if you don't ask questions, people are going to be suspicious of you because they know you don't know what's going on, you know? So asking questions. Anything else? Yes?
I think not enough communication.
Not enough communication, exactly. So you're in this silo and nothing out, and you have no idea what's going on.
You find out someone's working on the same project.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, so somebody else is like working on the same project and you had no clue. There's a hand up back there, yeah.
Sometimes people just don't know when to stop talking.
Okay.
Too much communication.
So we've got the other part of the spectrum. And what I call them is the chain talkers. You know, they just keep talking and there's no entry. Yeah, yes.
How about the way people are communicating now?
The-
Email, texting.
I'm sorry, a text, yeah, so the ways of communication that are not face-to-face, the texting and the emailing and all of that. Great, so those are some real frustrations. I can't help you. Okay, we are going to deal with a lot of those frustrations today. What are some of the things in particular you would love to get out of this session? If you were to walk away right now and you say, I got this, what is that this? Yes.
Being more self-aware of our own shortcomings.
I love that. Self-aware of your own shortcomings. That I can deliver. And some of the other things that we are going to talk about. So we're going to cover the brain science of communication. We're also going to talk about ways to create communication that gets through, and I'll tell you why that's important about that getting through, what you were talking about getting through. 2 powerful communication formulas. I've created these formulas that are helpful to getting through in difficult and uncomfortable situations, like if you need to say that. And your communication style, because we all communicate in our own style. I have my own unique spin on that, which I call actor types. You heard that I was an actor for several years, and I wrote for the soaps for a while, so I combine a lot of this into what I do now. And then we're going to talk about body language and vocal tips if we can. So it's a full slate. A little bit about me. You heard about this. Coaching for all this, like, what I want to point out to is this third bullet, FKA shy. Anybody have any idea what that means? Formerly known as. Shy was my literal nickname growing up. That's me. The one on the right, looking away from the camera with her toes pointing in. That is you, like this was me and my sister growing up. You were to meet my family. My mother would introduce you to her 2 daughters. And she would say, hi, this is my daughter Donna. This is my daughter Shy. That was me. I was incredibly shy, but it taught me so much about communication. And I bring that, and it taught me how painful it is not to be able to communicate. So that's what I bring to this work. George Bernard Shaw, the single most thing that you forget about communication is the illusion that it's been created. You know, so we think that we're communicating. All of these communication misses, we think we're communicating. Like I said, we have this mouth, we have this vocal cords. What's going on? Let me tell you what's going on. We have 3 brains. Anybody know this theory about the 3 brains? Hold up 4 fingers, great. 3 brains. Okay, here's the way the 3 brains work. We have the lizard brain. We've heard people talk about the lizard brain. That's our oldest brain, and it's our brain stem. And that's what reacts. The lizard reacts to things. And the lizard reacts because it instinctual wants to protect itself. It wants to be safe. And us as humans, we have that same situation. We want to be safe. Then what happens is our second brain is our monkey brain. You know, our monkey brain, and we've heard talk about the monkey brain, it's like chatter, chatter, chatter. So the monkey brain is really emotional. It takes what the lizard feels. I mean, because the lizard will say, this is safe, this is not safe. And the monkey will say, yeah, you know what? I feel like it's not safe because it reminds me of my old boss. And my old boss always made me feel unsafe. So that's what the monkey does with the communication. And then we have our human brain, the third part of our brain, which is our rational brain, our thinking brain, our logical brain. And that human brain thinks. So that's the perfect world. That's how our brain is set up. It's great. And we are the only ones that have that thinking, logical brain. That's excellent. But what happens in communication is we are not dealing with people of logic. We're dealing with people that are almost 100% emotional sometimes. So we're dealing with emotions. And that's why so many times that communication doesn't work. Because, like you said, you're not dealing with this logical person. And this is what our brain looks like on communication. The lizard reacts, the monkey feels, doesn't get through to the logical brain. So when we're talking about when you think you've said something and that other person doesn't hear it, what they're hearing is an emotional reaction to what you said, which then blocks off their logical, rational part of the brain, and it makes them not be able to interpret it. And it's a really interesting brain science fact that what happens is hormones start to get secreted, and it shuts down the way that the brain thinks. And I literally can't understand what you're saying. So we really need to, so what do we need to do? We need to fix that. In our brain, because what our brain has been doing is it has a threat. Our brain is either thinking that you're threatening them or you're rewarding them. And that's what it really wants to know, whether it's a threat or whether it's a reward. And if it's feeling rewarded, it's going to feel great. I love you, I want to go towards you. But if it's feeling threatened, I'm not going to be able to understand you. I'm not going to listen to you. So here's a really great model that you want to think about. You want to think about yourself first, and you want to think about who it is that you're talking to. Now this is a neuroscience-based leadership scale, and these are 5 domains. These are 5 points that people really need in their lives. And when they do not get one of these 5 things, they get triggered. And they get emotionally triggered, and they feel like they can't listen to you, or they can't act, or they can't respond. And we are all triggered by different things. Sometimes some people don't care about one of these things, and some people care deeply about it. So if you think about status, and think about yourself, and think about people that you deal with. Now if you have a handout, a lot of this is in the handout, and they're on the table back there. So, status. Status is like, am I as important as the other person? I want to be top dog. And if I feel like I'm not top dog, something in me is going to get triggered. Now, also certainty. If I'm working on a committee with someone, and the person who leads the committee has a really erratic schedule. I'm fine with that because I'm not triggered by the lack of certainty. She is so triggered by the lack of certainty, this other person, is that whenever he has to change his schedule, she gets really upset. And she's like, oh no, I need to know exactly what time we're going to talk. I need to know. And you know people like that. Their certainty is threatened. Then there's autonomy, that sense of control. People need to have a sense of control. If you're one of those people that needs to have a sense of control and you feel out of control, you're going to mistrust the person that's making you feel out of control. You're going to feel like, oh, God, I just want to do it myself. So how many people are micromanagers here? Or how many people love to be micromanaged? Nobody has their hand up. Right. So micromanaging is the enemy of the person who's triggered by autonomy. And if you are doing that, you really want to rethink how you deal with those people. Now, some people are really, really triggered when there's no relationship built in. If you're like in an office and nobody's friendly, they're going to be completely triggered and they're not going to be the best worker. They're not going to be able to respond to you. They're going to be tense. They're going to create stress with themselves. So all of these things, when they're denied, create stress in the listener, create stress in the person. And then the last one is fairness. If I think, oh, that's not fair, that's not fair, that's not fair, they're going to be triggered. So how many of you can relate to one of these 5 things as your trigger point? Great. Yes. So what is your trigger point?
Relationships.
Relationships.
Yeah.
If you don't have relationships, you're feeling.
Yeah, it's completely out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't do my best.
Yeah. Great.
I would say autonomy, definitely. If I feel like I can't control a situation
Yes.
anymore,
Yeah.
I feel useless. And
Yeah,
I
you
don't
feel,
know
yes,
what
exactly. And so certain people have no desire for autonomy. But if she feels like she's not autonomous, she feels useless. And what kind of worker is a worker who feels useless? Not a good one, you know. So you need to figure out who you are and who the person that you're working with is and what triggers them, what they can't stand about this situation, right? So talk really quickly to the person next to you and tell them what triggers you.
What triggers you?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, stop. We have a lot to do. Okay, stop being triggered. All right, moving on. So this is what happens. The brain, you'll get to talk to each other again, I promise. The brain processes either a threat or a reward, and look at that, 1/5 of a second. 1/5 of a second. You meet somebody, and in a fifth of a second, you've decided whether they are rewarding you or threatening you. Quick. Threat releases stress hormones. Whenever you're feeling threatened, when she feels micromanaged, when she feels out of control, her body starts to release cortisol, which creates stress. And stress is not pretty, and you can't work well under stress. However, when you're rewarded, when I say, what's your name?
Emily.
Emily. When I say, Emily, I want you to take ownership of this project. Woo-hoo! Emily's got this hormones flowing, the oxytocin, the dopamine. She is feeling good. And that's great. Now, unfortunately, the way our brains are, the threat response is stronger, faster, and longer lasting than the reward. So we have to continually reward and lessen. So what's our goal here as communicators and as leaders and as colleagues? Our goal is to minimize the threat response and maximize the rewards response. Sounds easy, right? Okay, so how do we do it? Then we have to deal with this, confirmation bias. Anybody familiar with that? And sometimes we call it the horns or the halo effect, which means that if you were threatened by someone, the first day at work, they say something that threatens you or makes you feel a little, I don't like that person. The next day you see that person, you're going to start looking for that thing that they did that made you upset. You're not going to see all the good things that they may do. And any good thing that they do is going to be filtered through those eyes of that threat. So it's really important, first of all, to make a good first impression. And if you haven't made a good first impression, you want to continually talk about the good things that you're doing and make that other person feel good while you're talking about them. Raise their cortisol level. Say something, find out what they are, what they need, and reward them so that they can start to replace that negative bias with a more positive one. So, what we also need to do is create content that gets through all three of those brains. And that's what I'm going to talk to you a bit about before. Now you look at how lovely the heart and the brain work together. When you're talking to somebody, the one thing that they care about is that. What's in it for me? What's in it for me? You talk to somebody, you meet somebody, they have 3 questions. So what? Who cares? What's in it for me? And so knowing that, we forget that. When we walk in and we talk to somebody like, what's in it for me? And what you really need to be thinking about, like even your things, like why don't they understand me? Are you talking to them in a way that they get something out of this? How can you couch it in a way that they are getting something out of it, and it's not about what you want to tell them, but what you need for them to know? And that's a slightly different thing. So people engage and take action for emotional and logical reasons, but the emotional reasons have more impact. And there's a great saying, logic tells, emotion sells. So how are you going to make your message emotional enough to pass the monkey brain and get through to the logical human brain so that I can understand you? That's our goal. That's our goal. You want to think, what does your listener need, want, and value? And that's how you shape the communication you give them, by shaping it in a way that they need it, they want it, and they value it. She values autonomy. Somebody else values certainty. How can I couch my message so that it sounds like you're going to be sure of what's going to happen? If you're valuing certainty, it's like, you know what? You're going to get exact results by doing this. Now, she is valuing the certainty, and I've acknowledged that. So I've lessened the threat response, and now she can listen to me. You know, autonomy. Look, I'm not going to micromanage you. I need you to do this, and here are the parameters. Okay, I've acknowledged who she is and what she needs, and then I'm going to tell her what I need. So that's what they care about. So you want to define also your key message. Who was it that say the people that talk? It's because usually they don't know what their key message is. And you need to find out, what is my key message? And when you think about that key message, my key message is, as a result of my communication, people are going to do something. It's not just, I'm not just talking to hear myself talk. People are going to, I want them to know, think, want, understand, feel, do something different. I want them to change. And that's how you think about this one message that you have to give. Now, it can be couched in all this beautiful stuff to make them feel better, but you have to know what the bottom line is, what they're going to know as a result, what they're going to do as a result, what they're going to change or think or feel as a result. Right? But again, we're emotional. We have to remember that. We're emotional. So how is it that we get through to that? And that's where my formulas come in. I'm going to have you practice some of these formulas afterwards with yourselves. And I want you to start thinking right now. I've given you some of those scarves and some of those ideas of people that are difficult. I want you to start thinking now of a communication that you feel is difficult or a situation that is challenging. And then as you listen to these formulas, see if one of these formulas fit in, and then we can practice with it, right? So, first is the love formula. How to disagree and express opinions. So there are 4 steps of the love formula. You want to listen. We talked about listening, right? Listen, listen, listen. Then you want to understand, validate, and express. That's our love formula. That's how it works. That's a really important quote. Most people listen with the intention to, not intention to listen, but they listen to the intent to reply. How many people are guilty of that? Oh yes, they're talking, you're talking. It's like, oh, I know exactly what I'm going to say next. And you've taken away that opportunity to really listen to that person. And you want to listen 100%. You want to listen with your eyes and your ears, because the body language tells you a lot of things. So that's how you have to listen to the tone. What is that tone? Is that person angry? Is that person frustrated? What's going on? That's how you want to listen. Listen to empathize and not criticize. Then one of the most important things that you can do with listening is to be curious. So your curiosity is so important. It's like, why are they saying that? And as soon as you start getting angry, get curious instead of furious. Get curious. Like, why are they doing that? Why is their tone like that? What's going on? And then you have this model. What's scarf? Is it status that they're being threatened? Is it their status? Is it their certainty? What's going on? So you have all of those tools now that you can think about. If that's going on, how can you minimize that threat? So the next step is to understand. You say something that indicates that you understand where they're coming from. Doesn't mean you have to agree with them 100%, but you have to understand them. It builds rapport, and when rapport is built, they start exuding the feel-good hormones again. So you've got that reward system going. It makes them open to your ideas. You can say things like, you raise an important issue. I understand your perspective. I can see how you feel that way. There are different things that are all in the handout. This is a way that you can then connect with them. You understand them. Then you can validate. You validate by saying, yeah, I agree with a part of that. You just say, yeah, just a part of that. I agree with a part of it. It creates more rapport and more feel-good. And when you hear the words, oh, you're right. When somebody says, you're right, oh man, they feel so good. Or I understand, or I agree, yes, yes, yes. Now, you're not going to agree with 100%, but you're saying that, and they're feeling better, so they're calming down. That threat response is calming down, right? And then you explore. Now it's time for you to express your own opinion, or you ask questions. And if both of those are very important. So, and we need to see how X works. Okay, I've just said how great you're smart, you're right, you're okay, I understand you, and it's my opinion now. Now it's very, very important to use and not but. I'm sure a lot of you have heard that before, but I cannot tell you what a huge difference it makes to say and not but. The other part of exploring is to ask an exploratory question. How do you think that will work in practice? How would you expect that to happen? Those exploratory questions can sometimes get that other person to say, yeah, you know what? That was a stupid idea I had. I was like, that's never going to work. And so that is an easier way of getting them to your side than just saying, yeah, but this is the way we should do it. Or I believe that this is the way we should do it. So that's a model. So what I'd like you to do, it's in your handout, I'm going to put it out here. So I want you to take a partner. One is going to be A, one's going to be B. A is going to give that, you told me last week we'd have X and now you're telling me it's been scrapped. Then what's going to happen is B is going to listen. Okay, so if you hear that, what is being threatened here? What value do you think is being threatened? What are they feeling threatened by that statement? You told me last week. Certainty. Yep, certainty is being threatened. So certainty. So what you want to do is you want to have a conversation with them about and making it feel better, right? So turn to your partner, one person say A, and then you're going to give them that explanation.
Hi. You told me last week that we could leave the building for lunch. Now you've cut lunch to half an hour, and we have to stay in the building.
Part of the slide that you want to feel different than your let's see. You got to be able to listen and to really understand so for instance,
Okay, is everybody?
let's go to our last topic. So for instance, you told me last year that your man was going to win. Okay. And one of us will say, you told me that
happened to my wife.
It happened what?
To my wife.
No. Yes, it happened about your guys versus
Who knows?
right? And we disagreed on what qualities they had.
Okay.
They get told.
We listened to each other. We did listen to each other.
Right, you could try it with the practice. The question is like, all right, how does that sound to you? Is that something that you think that you could possibly do or say this?
We were able to.
Is this something that you could do or say?
Yes, we were able to.
Yeah. So you can craft figure out, so again, I want you to start thinking about how you might do it with a challenging situation of your own. So next we're going to have some time to practice with that. So let's look at the second model. Feedback. How many people are responsible for giving feedback? How many people love giving feedback? Good, you like giving feedback. Great, what do you like about it?
I think it's a way of coaching them
Uh-huh.
and making
Yeah.
them a better person at whatever they're doing.
Right.
Also, it gives them insight as to perhaps how their behavior or comments are seen by others.
Right.
I mean, you live in a vacuum, we think you're great, but
Right.
you're not. You know? And so if you do it in a very delicate way, especially people that report to me, I think
Right.
it's my job to mentor and to coach them.
Right, great. Yeah, it is your job. And it really makes a huge difference to get great feedback. And it keeps people, it's good for retention. I mean, without feedback, people get lost and they don't understand. But a lot of people feel like giving feedback is a bad thing and people are going to be mad at me. How many people feel like giving feedback, people are going to be mad at me?
Well, that's
You know, if you've got a relationship issue, relatedness thing, that's what comes up a lot. So let's talk about the 3 R's model. Replay, react, request. And that's a simple way of giving feedback. You want to replay exactly what happened. It's like you're playing a movie back, exactly what happened. And you tell them this specifically, very specific, on this day, this happened, blah, blah, blah. Then you take the react. You say how it impacted you or the company or the department or the team. Give them a specific impact. Now the thing that happens sometimes with this is that we get into the evaluation and the judging. You know, okay, so when I go back to the replay, now what if I said to you, you know what, you came in yesterday at 2:10 and you're always late. Ooh. Those are fighting words. You're always. You never come in on time. All of those things, those are judgments and evaluations. Now what you want to do is just say, you came in at 9:10 yesterday and you came in at 9:20 the day before. Those are facts. No one can argue with them. You don't say you always and all of that, right? So the reaction, you tell them specifically what happened as a result of that behavior. And then we get to the 3 R's. The last R is the request. You ask for them to request to do something differently. And you ask them to do it differently. Be as specific as possible. Tell them what you would like them to do and by when. Specific. And here's an example here. Somebody just stand up, come here and give me that, read that example. Who wants to volunteer? Just read that example. Go ahead.
You want me to just read the first
Yeah.
one out loud? Okay. Last week, we were 20 minutes late dialing in for our conference call with George.
Mhm.
Today, you arrived at 9:15 for a 9 o'clock client meeting. I noticed the client continually looking at his watch before and after you arrived.
Right, so those are facts. Those are total facts. Nothing over-evaluated or exaggerated or embellished. Okay, so you, read the second one. Yes.
I value the time of the people we work with, and I believe it reflects poorly on our service and work ethics when we keep people waiting.
Yes. All right, so that's your reaction. This is having an impact on our work. This is having an impact on our, and then on the bottom of that, that's an impact on our bottom line and our profit, right? So they need to know that. So the third one, read the third one.
Your contribution to this team is valuable, and in order for me to continue to give you the responsibility I've been giving you, I need for you to be much better about being on time.
Yes, great. So what does that do too? Like that last one, if somebody has a status issue, what you've just done, if you massage their ego, you're valuable to me, and, not but, I need you to fix this. So you've